Revenge of the Nerds, the ultimate comically envisioned story of standing up to bullies and going above and beyond to fight discrimination. We all know this classic story about a group of outcasts at a college who are rejected by all fraternities and bullied by the tougher alpha betas, where our group of nerdy heroes stick together to fight their unfair treatment and persecution. The movie introduced us to so many iconic characters, such as Lewis, Gilbert, Booger, Lamar, Poindexter, and Wormser, as well as being the movie that introduced us to that iconic nerd laugh.
You got a great sense of humor.
Where the nerds become tri-lambs and defeat their ruthless bullies. However, maybe the less we say about the moon room scene, the better. However, what about the lost version of Revenge of the Nerds? The version that you've never seen? The version that involved a subplot where our group of nerds head out to Vegas and meet Gilbert's incredibly racist uncle? Or a lost subplot where an angry nerd is hunting the Stan character for money? Well, today all will be revealed as we explore Revenge of the Nerds, the version that you've never seen, so we can take a deep dive into what this outrageous comedy could have been like. So in order to understand the movie that Revenge of the Nerds could have been, we have to go back to the beginning. The Revenge of the Nerds script was written by writers Steve Zacharias and Jeff Buhai. Beforehand, Steve Zacharias had been a producer on TV shows All in the Family and Quark. And with Jeff Buhai, the two writers would go on to write fellow comedies Last Resort, The Whoopie Boys, Johnny Be Good, In the Army Now, and Eddie. Needless to say, none of these other films would have the same cultural impact as Revenge of the Nerds, nor the same level of appraisal and fandom. However, according to a really insightful article in GQ, the original story for Revenge of the Nerds was created by filmmakers/scriptwriters Miguel Tejeda Flores, and yes, I know I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but I don't care as I like living dangerously. And Tim Metcalf. The inspiration for their story was Tejeda Flores' father, who was an immigrant from Bolivia, who would move to America and study at the California Institute of Technology, which was described as a mischievous nerd's paradise. However, Steve Zacharias and Jeff Buhai did add their own input into the story. They claim that in part the story is based on a kid that they knew at college who didn't get into any fraternities, so he started his own. So this guy and his new fraternity were basically nerds. A group that never won football at the college and had their own nerd parties. But that didn't bother them, they were perfectly content with that. The layout for the script was to make the fraternity guys the villains and the nerds the underdogs who have to go against all odds and yet still come out victorious, with Buhai adding that that's a formula that's going to work forever. The script found its way to 20th Century Fox, who agreed to give it a budget of $6 million, although there are some claims that it was more $8 million, in order to get the movie made. Now, it's unclear what the original title was, but it was the movie's producer, Ted Field, who came up with the title Revenge of the Nerds, claiming that it was just something that he had come up with. However, there are other claims that the title came from a magazine article which was titled Revenge of the Nerds. Buhai joked that he and Zacharias didn't even know how to spell the word nerds and were writing it down as nerds. Director Jeff Canoe was sent several potential scripts that he could direct for 20th Century Fox. One was Bachelor Party, the one where Tom Hanks has a bachelor party, where all manner of misbehaving takes place, as well as a script called Give Me an F, an outrageous sex comedy about a cheerleading squad, which I've honestly never heard of till now. And of course, Revenge of the Nerds. Canoe made the right decision with Revenge of the Nerds. So, the crew was ready, as well as the cast of memorable actors on board to play their iconic characters. So it was off to the University of Arizona in Tucson. However, this itself caused a huge problem, as although originally being granted permission to film at the location, the university's administrators read the script and were so shocked they instantly denied permission for filming on the campus. And the campus wasn't budging with its decision either. The university's vice president of relations made it firm and clear that nothing would change their minds.
As president of the Greek Council, I'm sorry to inform you that your membership has been denied.
Until it did, of course, after some negotiations took place. So the campus did allow filming, but the filming had to be tasteful, and, well, the cast and crew had to be on their best behaviour. And it seemed that this was working. Until, according to Wikipedia, an off-duty cop working as a security guard on the set found a small supply of coke in a dressing room. But the police were like, meh, whatevers, we'll let this one pass. There's no way we could ever figure out whose coke this was. Yeah, guys, enjoy your filming and your coke-fueled parties. I guess.
This is some good shit.
This is exaggeration on my part, of course. I'm telling you, man, the 80s were a whole other universe. Still, at least actor James Cromwell, who played Lewis's father, was around to lend a hand, and created the infamous nerd laugh. Apparently he was on set filming his scene and came up with the nerd laugh, and then all the other actors just followed in suit, and the iconic laugh grew from there. Although, I've heard some people suggest that the nerd laugh sounds like Eddie Murphy's laugh. And yeah, I guess it does have that. So let's explore some of the deleted scenes that didn't make it into the final film version of Revenge of the Nerds, and see what the movie could have been like had these scenes been left in. Okay, so there's an entirely deleted subplot where the nerds venture to a Tri-Lambs convention in Las Vegas in order to try and win the fraternity over while they were on probation. And this subplot takes the movie into interesting directions. The setup of this subplot starts with Gilbert and Judy walking around the college campus, where he explains that he and the rest of the nerds won't be around for a while as they're going away to a convention in Las Vegas. They both declare how much they mean to each other, where Gilbert gifts Judy with a pink sweater, and it's all very sweet. So we see the nerds arrive at the convention, where they are naively wearing stereotypical African gowns and attire. I guess to show just how out of touch and socially unaware these guys are. Because they're nerds. And that's the gag, they don't have a clue.
Yeah, we're with the Adams College chapter.
UN Jefferson spots them and is not impressed with their presence.
You wait right here. Right here.
He speaks of his disgust of the nerds, where a fellow senior Tri-Lam member reminds him that they're still on probationary membership.
George, get rid of these nerds. They're ruining our image.
The probationary period isn't up until next week.
Next week?
So yeah, very much looks like in this point of the movie that the Tri-Lambs really don't like the nerds and were swiftly going to reject them. In a later scene, Lewis and Gilbert meets Gilbert's Uncle Meyer while he's dining by a poolside.
Hi, Uncle Meyer.
Gilbert!
Meyer is shown to be something of a sleazy banker who even propositions the nerds with some poolside babes.
I want you girls to give these boys whatever they want, all right?
It's indicated in their exchange that Gilbert's father is dead, and that it's his Uncle Meyer who paid for Gilbert to go to college. He also gives Gilbert a trust fund. Remember that's important for later. But things take a turn for the worse when Uncle Meyer spots members of the Tri-Lambs at the pool dining area and starts throwing out racist insults. Lewis and Gilbert inform Meyer that those people that he is speaking about are members of the Tri-Lambs, which is also their fraternity. And being a raging racist, Meyer is appalled with this and starts screaming out more racial insults and gets quite aggressive about it. And both Lewis and Gilbert are horrified, because clearly Meyer is a grotesque man, just as horrible as the bullies who are persecuting the nerds, with it coming across clear that the movie is drawing a line between social persecution and racism. Incidentally, in the original script, it's explained that the nerds are staying in an Elvis suite in a Vegas hotel, at the expense of Uncle Meyer, where they get up to all kinds of misbehaving, which includes Wormser hacking into a police database and listing Stan's car as stolen, where Stan is approached by a cop while doing the spicy tango with Betty in his car. And when the cop approaches them and tells them that they're in a stolen car, they both conclude that this is the work of the nerds, and presumably are then arrested. UN Jefferson and other members of the Tri-Lambs arrive at the Elvis suite to discuss with the nerds about their probation, where the nerds learn that one of the Tri-Lamb members has a speeding ticket, and Wormser uses his computer skills again to delete the impending ticket. And the Tri-Lambs are impressed with this. Uncle Meyer then arrives at the room, accompanied by his wife, Gilbert's auntie, and is once again horrified at the sight of people of colour in the suite, and goes into a complete racist tirade, where Gilbert, who incidentally is called Pinksy in the script, calls Meyer a crude, ill-mannered pig, and tells him that he can take the trust fund that he gave him and, quote, shove it up Aunt Fanny's fat ass, where Pinksy, aka Gilbert, tears up the trust fund and everyone is shocked. Gilbert then slams the door in Meyer's face, and UN Jefferson tells Pinksy, aka Gilbert, that he will make a fine addition to the Tri-Lambs. So in this original script, that's how they join the Tri-Lambs. Also, the fact that the nerds are staying in an Elvis suite explains why later on, Booger is wearing an Elvis suit. I'm kinda guessing he got it from the suite. Okay, so I came across an interesting scene involving Stan, the main instigator of the Alpha Beta's treatment towards the nerds. In the scene in question, we see Stan get a phone call at his dorm from some guy who is clearly a nerd. In fact, is it just me, or does he kind of look like Gilbert? Stan is nervous about this call, and the caller in question demands Stan to give him the money that he owes him, where Stan assures him that he'll pay him soon, but further asks him not to call his dorm again.
It's been 2 weeks. I want my money.
I know. I'll give you the money as soon as I get it. And listen, don't ever call me at the house again, alright?
So at first, I had no idea who this is meant to be, but after doing some research, this is actually Stan's brother, and Stan is in debt with him, and so his brother is tracking him down, trying to get the money that he owes him. So Stan has a brother who is a nerd. Kind of puts a brand new spin on things, really, and shows the character through a new light. It's kind of giving rhyme and reason to his hatred of nerds, other than he's just a dick. I think this subplot was to show the reason of Stan's dislike for nerds goes back to his brother, and his own insecurities from that fact. Because, after all, what would the rest of the Alpha Betas do if they found out this was Stan's brother? Would he also be cast out and forced to join the nerd crew? I guess it shows that he's not such a perfect pretty boy who has everything after all, especially if he owes his nerdy brother money. Also, to me, the intimidating way Stan's brother talks to him suggests that maybe his nerdy brother has also in fact bullied him.
Hi, Stan. It's me.
Another deleted scene revolves around an event at the Homecoming Greek Games, where the Tri-Lambs team up with the Omega Moos in a chariots race, where of course the Tri-Lambs and Omega Moos win. And well, because of this, the Alpha Betas really aren't happy. Like, they are peed off. Another deleted scene takes place just after the Alpha Betas head out to trash the nerds' house after they lost the games, where the nerds actually arrive when this is taking place. Now, the Alpha Betas are particularly cruel here, and even smash their trophy, proving that they aren't in fact high-achieving winners, but rather sore losers.
Give me that! I'm the president now! Oh, is that right, Mr. President? Huh, pal?
This is honestly quite a dark scene compared to the rest of the movie, and shows just how mean, relentless, and unforgiving the Betas' treatment towards the nerds truly is.
How do you like it, huh? How do you like it?
And something else I thought that I would add is I found a video on YouTube uploaded by a channel called MovieNameDrops.com, in which when Lewis finds the rundown house, he tells the other guys about it, where we see a deleted scene where the gang march proudly to the house, while some really funky synth music plays in the background. And if you look closely, you'll see this version of the movie is even shot slightly different to the cut that we all know. Yeah, you just notice those tiny little differences there. But the thing that really stood out to me about this video is that in the comment section, there's quite a few comments from people saying they can actually remember this scene being in the original theatrical cut when they saw it at movie theaters. So that's the lost version of Revenge of the Nerds. Although I appreciate that the added scenes would have dived further into the themes of discrimination and just how truly ugly it is, I think the version we got is better. It gets the point across and moves the story at a sturdy pace. Things probably just would have got bogged down if we had trips to Las Vegas and angry nerd brothers thrown into the mix. As the old saying goes, sometimes less is more. On a side note, Revenge of the Nerds seems to be quite a controversial movie these days. So much so, the original Revenge of the Nerds isn't even on Disney+, whereas the sequel is, with some jokes and actions of the nerds within the movie seriously put into question. And yeah, the nerds themselves do some bad things, which would be completely unacceptable in the real world. But with that, I say, it's just a movie. It's not real. And to say that a movie should be banned or cancelled, then that's kind of insulting the intelligence of the general public, as it's assuming people can't tell the difference between reality and fiction, implying if people see something nasty in a movie, then they'll do it in real life, which is ridiculous. No, I think most people know not to do some of the things we see the nerds do in that movie. I mean, it's just common sense, really. Hence the fact that the movie had been around for 40 years and we never had a problem with it before. And if we're to say that an over 40-year-old movie has to be banned because the characters do some bad things, then where do you draw the line? You could then say, well, I think A Nightmare on Elm Street should be banned. It has a guy with a knife glove who goes around killing kids, and that is really offensive behaviour and unacceptable in the real world. Or we need to get rid of Star Wars as it features an intergalactic fascist, and I find that to be deeply distressing and really problematic. Yet look, if every movie and TV show had characters who are absolutely perfect and don't do anything wrong, then I'm sorry to say, but that would be really boring storytelling. And in banning a movie 40 years old, because some of the jokes are now seen as offensive, you're actually not creating a strong society, but rather a weak and paranoid one. So Revenge of the Nerds is an outrageous comedy for its time, full of rude, raunchy antics. And, well, needless to say, they just don't make them like that anymore. If they did, people will be complaining all over X. Anyway, I'm Minty, and the protagonists in Revenge of the Nerds are called Lewis and Gilbert. Lewis Gilbert. As in director Lewis Gilbert? Wow, were the characters named after a James Bond director? See ya!